Welcome to Football Game Plan's FCS Kickoff presented by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Mike McCarthy is producer behind the boards, and we're entering the second week of November. Things in the FCS are nonetheless clear, but that's why we're here, to help provide clarity to what looks to be a very cloudy situation in the football championship subdivision. Here's a look at what we have on tap for this episode. There are a bevy of fly in the ointment games this week, and we'll let you know which games are those in our Games of Intrigue segment. The FCS Bowl, which is an all-star game catering to the FCS, is starting to hand out some of its invitations, and we'll take a look at this game and what it means for FCS NFL draft prospects. And as always, with our coast-to-coast game previews, we'll take a look at what game has made our stats FCS Game of the Week, and believe me, it's a doozy of a game. But first, let's take a look at some of the biggest storylines heading into Week 11 as we get things kicked off by going into our 4-minute offense. Just when you thought you had the Missouri Valley Football Conference figured out, chaos happens over the weekend. We saw North Dakota State, South Dakota, and Illinois State all lose and send the entire standings into a flurry. Now, you can make a legitimate case for 4 to 5 teams coming from the Missouri Valley Conference to make the FCS playoffs. It also sets up another huge weekend on the schedule as we have some potential playoff eliminating games in Youngstown State, Southern Illinois, Illinois State, South Dakota State, and Northern Iowa against Missouri State. The SoCon looks a lot like the Missouri Valley Conference these days. 5 teams in the SoCon have a strong case for the FCS playoffs. We saw one team's chances take a hit last weekend as the Citadel lost to Western Carolina. This week, the Bulldogs have a chance to put a dent in another member's armor as they face the red-hot Furman Paladins. Wofford staved off an upset last week to Chattanooga, and both Western Carolina and Sanford have some very interesting matchups this week against Mercer and East Tennessee State, respectively. With that being said, there are some playoff bubbles that are just about ready to burst here in Week 11. Teams like Eastern Washington, New Hampshire, Illinois State, Duquesne, Sanford, amongst others, could find themselves on the outside looking in come playoff time if they don't grab some key victories this weekend. With the emergence of teams like Austin Peay, Kennesaw State, and Monmouth, and also Southern Utah, those teams sitting squarely on the bubble can't afford any more losses. What a difference a coaching change makes, as the Alabama State Hornets now have won 3 straight games after replacing Brian Jenkins as the head coach. Interim head coach Donald Hill-Ely has done a great job getting things turned around for the Hornets, and now is making a strong case to remove the interim tag from his name during the offseason. That case can be made even stronger if the Hornets are able to pull off the shocker this week against the SWAC's best in Grambling State.
Well, the FCS creates so many opportunities for young men. And it's, I think, and you look in our league, it's really the best. It's the best combination of winning football, but also outstanding student athletes. That's really the true model here. And a lot of the FCS programs feel the same way. And, you know, we're blessed to be where we're at here at Lehigh, and everybody else in this league feels the same way. But the FCS, you'll see a lot of people that aren't coming necessarily to the NFL, but what they are is they're becoming leaders of industry, whatever they do when they graduate. And that's really the most important piece of going to college and playing college football, is to getting that degree. And our guys really excel in that response.
Like we mentioned in the open, there are a slew of games on the schedule this week that are not full-fledged upset alert, but they are definitely interesting enough to be considered games of intrigue. Southern Utah UC Davis is one to watch. This has big-time Big Sky implications, and it lands on our games of intrigue because of UC Davis's offensive attack. The Thunderbirds can't afford an off day defensively because wide receiver Keelan Doss has the skills to make you pay. We alluded to it earlier when talking about Alabama State's interim head coach Donald Hill-Ely and his Hornets 3-game winning streak. Winning breeds confidence, and we'll see how much of it they have built up as they face one of the best teams in the FCS in Grambling State. Now, the Tigers are steamrolling toward Houston for the SWAC title game and can't sleepwalk into this one. This Nichols-Stephen F. Austin game is intriguing because as great as the Colonels are playing this season and seem to be a lock for an at-large playoff bid, that Lumberjacks offense has the ability to make any game they play against any opponent a track meet, and that's the type of game the Colonels definitely don't want against a Southland Conference opponent. Two SoCon matchups we briefly mentioned earlier. East Tennessee State travels to Furman and Mercer travels to Western Carolina. These are two huge matchups, not just in conference, but nationally. East Tennessee State has been solid under head coach Carl Torbush, and Mercer under Bobby Lamb is as tough as they come. Penn Harvard makes the list because Penn still has the offense to light up the scoreboard, but Harvard is making a charge up the Ivy League standings and now only trails Yale, which could set up a huge matchup at the end of the season between the two rivals for the Ivy Championship, which is why this game is intriguing, as Penn could ruin any chance for an Ivy title for the Crimson. In the MEAC, some potential Celebration Bowl elimination games as Bethune-Cookman battles North Carolina Central, who still has an outside shot of making a bowl if they can win out, and Norfolk State and Howard as the Bison will look to keep their magical season going under first-year head coach Mike London. This will definitely be an intriguing week of action in the FCS. On this show, we always talk about some of the tremendous talent that's available in the FCS regarding the NFL draft. A lot of the times, guys are waiting to hear back from either the East-West Shrine game, the Senior Bowl, or even the NFLPA game. But a lot of guys will and do fall through the cracks. The FCS Bowl is one of the ancillary all-star games that is there to help fill the gaps.
When we put that ball down, we're going 100%. Because some of us might not ever play football again. You know what I'm trying to say? You guys are going to go after that. All right? And that's no BS. All right? You guys are going to get your shot this weekend. We have the official scouts. We have some directors of scouting. We have the top guys. We have some top CFL guys. So it's a great opportunity for you guys. Just take advantage of it, okay?
218, 218. Michael Milwaukee, Kentucky State University, offensive line.
Five 106, 5106, 6013,
297, 297.
6013, 6013.
Turn kickoff.
Music bed.
We'll do that deep pass. We'll do that deep pass. So any pass and see what we're going to do.
Get up, 2 1.
Music bed.
This opportunity only comes once in a lifetime. There are several of your teammates, several of guys that you know that, don't have an opportunity to participate in this game. So I hope that you have given 100% and that tomorrow you guys will, go out and continue to give 100%. Because if not, guess what? if things don't go in your favor, you're going to think about these last couple of days that you were here. I saw 20 teams here today. 20. 15 NFL, 5 CFL. You had an opportunity, okay? You had a resume that you built over the years. You've had an all-star game that you participated in this weekend. You had an opportunity.
Let's bring that damn thing back up the middle. Get up in there! Get your heads up. We got 30 minutes, man. What they did to us in 30 minutes, we can double in our 30 minutes. Get your head out of your ass, let's go play. Let's go play.
All you guys are going to go on to the next step of your careers. Some of you guys will get opportunities playing on Sundays. Some may be up in Canada with the crazy Canadians. Maybe somewhere, wherever you play. A lot of you guys might not. A lot of you guys are all going to get your degree, right? That's an awesome thing. So whatever you guys do in life, we just want blessings to everything you guys do. Just make sure you guys work like champions, like you guys work out on this field. We're proud of you guys, and let's bring it in and get out of here.
Man, we're going to always be a family, man. We put in work down here a whole weekend, man. We always got to stay together, man. This game will take us a long way, man. We done learned a lot from it, man. So we got family on 3, family on me. 1, 2, 3. Family.
I think that the main reason to choose HBCU is for the family atmosphere. The guys are going to get the core values that their parents taught them, that their family members tried to raise them. You'll have a close-knit atmosphere. You'll actually have guys that care about you as a person. So I think that's the main reason for choosing the HBCU.
Let's start our Week 11 preview of games by starting out in the Patriot League as Lafayette plays host to the Raiders of Colgate. Colgate and Lafayette face off in what looks to be a Patriot League elimination game. Both teams have gotten great play from freshman quarterbacks this season. This is going to be a strength versus strength battle as the Raiders offense meets a stiff test against the Leopards defense. I like Colgate to keep this train rolling and knock off the Leopards. I think Lafayette is a year away from being legit threats in the Patriot League, but you have to be impressed with what first-year head coach John Garrett has done so far with this program. In a game that Colgate will definitely keep a watchful eye on, Holy Cross takes on Lehigh. This game will have a lot of offense and will ultimately come down to which defense you can trust. Both teams have shown the ability to be opportunistic on that side of the football, but my gut has me trusting the Crusaders just a bit more. In this one, I like Holy Cross. Big game in the Ivy League between Yale and Princeton. The Bulldogs are the leaders in the Ivy clubhouse, and a lot of the credit goes to a young offense that's both balanced and explosive. Princeton has been on a bit of a slide since starting red hot this year. I still think they have more than enough talent to make this game very interesting, but for my money, it's hard to go against momentum. Look for the Bulldogs to win again and knock off the Tigers. One of those playoff elimination games we mentioned earlier as Illinois State travels to South Dakota State, and it's hard to get a great read on the Redbirds this season. They've been very inconsistent, which in part lands them in this situation. They're facing a Jackrabbit squad coming off of an upset victory against North Dakota State. Their defense was the story in that one, forcing 3 Easton Stick interceptions, and I think it will be the story in this one too. I like South Dakota State. Staying in the Missouri Valley Conference for another pivotal game as South Dakota looks to rebound against what figures to be a very angry North Dakota State Bison team. This game may actually be a lot tighter than people think. The Coyotes have the X factor in quarterback Chris Strebler, but the Bison have the defense to get critical stops when they need them. Can the Coyotes push the tempo and make the Bison break tendencies offensively? Will the Bison allow one loss to become 2? I'd say both are highly unlikely. I'm taking North Dakota State. What a game this is going to be in the CAA as Elon travels to New Hampshire. The Phoenix have shown the capability to win any type of game necessary this season, which is the mark of a good football team. New Hampshire is considered Old Faithful in the FCS because they do not go away and are one of the more consistent programs in the subdivision. Where they've struggled this season is against a good team, so to speak, on their schedule. Elon is a good team. The Phoenix are chasing JMU and trying to set up a showdown game at the end of the season for all of the marbles. Look for another tightly contested victory for Elon. Big game in the Big South between Charleston Southern and Kennesaw State. The Bucks have made a late charge as we head toward the end of the season. They've been really good defensively all season long, but what makes this game interesting is that the Owls are an option team similar in style to the Bucks. Kennesaw State is a different beast though in my opinion and looks to be one of the more focused squads in the FCS right now. They'll take care of business and get a tough conference win. The Citadel looks to claw its way back into the thick of the playoff race as they take on the Furman Paladins. Like I've said before, there's just something missing from this Bulldog team this season, and I'm guessing that it was due to the defensive losses because of graduation and also transfers. However, we're deep into the season and it's not an excuse anymore. They're facing a Paladin squad under first-year head coach Clay Hendricks that's flat out balling on both sides of the ball. Furman, I think, can overcome the challenge of playing an option team and win this game. Look for the Purple Paladins to move on to 7-3 on the season. And now it's time for our Stats FCS Game of the Week preview, and it's in the Northeast Conference, and we have a huge one between Central Connecticut State and Duquesne. Let's start with some coaching points in this ball game for both teams. Looking at Central Connecticut State, they have to take advantage of the defensive opportunities they'll face very early in this ball game. I'm talking about third down opportunities, which will allow you to get off the field, interception opportunities with their ball hawking secondary. If they can do that, it bodes well for their chances the rest of the way. Offensively speaking, don't be afraid to test the secondary of the Dukes. I like the matchup here for the Blue Devils, as I think they have some tremendous talent on the flanks and at tight end. Work to your strengths against what is perceived to be the strengths on Duquesne's side to give yourself a chance. And finally, for the Blue Devils, they have to maximize their own red zone opportunities. Yes, points add up, and 3 is definitely better than 0, but they need touchdowns if they want to beat the Dukes. For Duquesne in this matchup, they have to keep their foot on the gas offensively. Too often this season, we've seen Duquesne sort of get relaxed in the second half and allow teams to sneak back into the ball game. That can't happen this week against Central Connecticut State. Otherwise, they'll find it hard to match their level of tempo. It goes without saying, but the Dukes have to win the battle up front. This is where they are really good, especially offensively, and they will match physicality with the Blue Devils here in this ball game. This is going to be another strength versus strength battle that they'll have to win. And it's 4 quarters of focus for the Dukes. They essentially have a berth into the FCS playoffs in their sights, and if they can knock off the Blue Devils, they can achieve that goal. In order to beat a great team, you need to focus for the entire game. No penalties, no turnovers. Don't allow mental mistakes to become physical ones, and you should be successful. The biggest X factor in this ball game for Central Connecticut State is their quarterback, Jacob Delgado. I'm pretty sure you're going to expect Duquesne to try to put him in situations where he's going to have to make plays in the passing game. If he can't do that, then this offense and his team as a whole could struggle. Yes, Central Connecticut State does a great job owning the line of scrimmage and running the football and being efficient in the passing game, but Delgado will have to make plays, more plays than normal in the passing game if they want to beat Duquesne. And for the Dukes, I think it's an obvious one to look at the tailback, A.J. Hines, and what he can do to really shrink this ball game and take the air out of the ball and the wind out of the sails of the Blue Devils. This is a guy that's coming off a 234-yard effort last week. If he can have close to that in this ball game, I think Duquesne would be playing winning football. I like Duquesne in this ball game. I think their ability to run the football and play a controlled game, they're getting great play from Tommy Stewart. I think all of that helps them out against the Blue Devils. This is fairly new territory for Central Connecticut State, and they've played excellent football so far this season, but I do think the experience factor here with Duquesne should be enough to will them to victory, but this will be one fantastic game in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So that's it for this week's episode of the FCS Kickoff. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media accounts, and be sure to check out and subscribe on iTunes to the FCS Opening Drive podcast, where yours truly and David Hashagen will break down the previous week of FCS action and give you a look ahead to what's going on in the upcoming week. And as always, every Thursday or Friday, be on the lookout for our FCS Conference Whip Around, where our 13 FCS Kickoff correspondents will bring you and get you up to speed to what's going on around the FCS and all the conferences.